What's up, guys? Back again. Hope you're doing well. We're gonna jump straight into it today. The reason why you're not where you want to be at in life is because the container by which you're creating your life through isn't exactly dialed into where you'd like it to be. You see, we operate in this life by many different signals that we put out into the universe and by which we choose to align with. Everything, you might have heard it before, is energy, frequency, and vibration. So as we go through life and as we understand ourselves and operate as ourselves, we have to know how we are choosing to vibrate or what our frequency is. It's been said before, your frequency is what you frequently see, by which that means your paradigm is influencing how you see the world. How you see the world is based on your emotions, your beliefs, the decisions that you've made about life up until this point. So as you move through the space-time continuum and you operate on a basis of one day or another or whatever that moment calls for, you are operating from what your subconscious mind has created based on your experiences. So throughout your life, you have constantly ingested and absorbed your beliefs that are of your mindset today. I watch this happen in real time, not only with myself and other people, but especially with my daughter. I have a 4-year-old daughter. She just turned 4 back in November. And obviously I'm a father. And so I have a large say in how, or at least a large part in how she develops and views the world. And I try to do my absolute best to be the example she needs and also to instruct her in her times of need. Now, obviously I'm a young man. I'm 23. I got a lot to learn myself, but I make plenty of mistakes. But I watch it happen in real time how, I act a certain way for a certain amount of days. Boom, she's doing it like that. She's acting different based on that. Same thing with my wife. She acts one way one day, and next thing you know, she's acting similar, right? And these are just simple kind of surface level reflections, you could say. The real bigger picture is that over the next 3 years of her life, 3 to 4 years, and what has already happened up until this point, are shaping her beliefs of the world in general. Now, I like to believe that me and my wife have done a great job up until this point. Needless to say, though, there's always some sort of trauma. There's always some sort of pain that a child has to go through. Well, I'm a strong believer in that because at some point last year I heard a depiction of trauma. Trauma is simply put the perceived lack of control, right? And so when we are growing up and developing as children and people in general, we always run into something that makes us feel like we're not in control anymore. And that's just part of life, part of growing up. So as a parent, anyways, I'm getting into a rant here on parenthood. What I really want to draw this into is your life in general and the way you feel about your life in general and the way that you conceive your world. Why do I say conceive your world? Well, simply put, like I mentioned earlier, your beliefs and your decisions in your world and in your life create what you're going through in one way or another. We all know that everybody's perception is different. We all know that people see the world differently than you do or one another. I've even heard before that we see colors differently based on our brain, based on the way that we see the world. And so when it comes to understand the hard parts of life or the good parts of life, we all see it differently. We all believe things differently. Some things are good for people and those same good things are bad for other people. And so we get into this continuum, if you will, where everybody perceives things differently. So what is good for you? What is your believed purposeful meaning behind life and behind the life that you're living? And I believe, and I've experienced as well, and I see it in tons of people all the time, much of the reasons why we don't find the success we want in any given endeavor is because we're not clear on what it is exactly that we want. And even if we are somewhat clear on it, we don't know how to go about achieving that reality. We don't know how to go about taking those steps forward. And when I say we don't know how, what I mean is that we do it all at once, right? It's New Year's. What many people are doing right now is going absolutely all in on this different version of life. But in most cases, people end up falling behind because they go at it in ways that are just not, sustainable. They're not sustainable, right? And so we feel like we're doing so much and we're taking all these steps forward and we're doing all the right things. And that's great, but it's really the consistency that makes the real difference. If someone was to go and work out one time a week for the next 7 years, compared to someone who goes and works out 7 days a week for the next month, we obviously know the person who's working out the one time for the next 7 years is going to get better results because he actually stayed with it. Right? But again, when we're getting started, we have surface level motivation. We don't have clarity on what exactly it is that in most cases, we don't have clarity on exactly what it is that's going to keep us driving forward as the day goes on, as life gets harder, and as our common struggles come back up. We don't have clarity on those things. But Lord knows we have motivation. Now we get into the societal kind of construct that New Year's is and why we feel like we must abandon our old self every time the new year comes. Really, we just need to accept what we are good at, appreciate those things, and then begin to look at the things that we want to change about our life. Understand why those things are. Really dig into the lower levels of what makes us want to change those things in our life. Because once we do that, then we can actually begin to reconstruct those areas of our life in a meaningful, purposeful way that actually leads us to a life where we want to go. Instead of building on the surface level, once again. If I want to start working out and I just go to the gym for the next, 100 days and don't ever go again after that, I'm not really benefiting my life. I might have for those 100 days, but the consistency and the long-term renewal of the habit and of the mind, truthfully, is what creates the different reality, the different perceived reality. Right? Now, as humans, again, we don't like change. We don't want to feel change in most cases. We avoid change because change is scary. It's uncomfortable. It's insecure. But in reality, we're meant to always be in change. We're meant to always be working for a purpose. And when we work for purpose, we are expecting change to be a thing. We're expecting change to be a normal part of life. And as we grow and as we develop, we get better at certain things. We start giving less attention to things that aren't worth our attention, and we develop. But again, it's all based on the container and the vision we have for this development and of this life. If we don't begin with the vision, begin with the end in mind, we don't know what we're fighting for. Now, don't get me wrong. Getting started is the biggest step, right? Directional correctness over absolute correctness. Don't not start because you don't know exactly where you're going. Get started in whatever way you can. Again, that's how my story was. For the last 5 years, I was all in on meditation, journaling, reading, exercise, you name it, right? And now I'm at a point, I was just telling my wife about this today, I'm at a point where I do less of those things, but I do the hard-hitting ones consistently as hell. Because if I don't, I'm off track. But I didn't have to do all of the other ones for so long. I'm the type of person where I go hard on the things that I'm trying to do. So in my mind, I was like, all right, I got these bad habits, and I want these good habits. So I'm going to try and stop as many of these bad habits as possible, and I'm going to try and start as many of these good habits as possible. And it was kind of like the spray and pray method. Again, I was starting at the age of 18, 19 years old. I had a lot more time, energy, and effort than most people. Thus far, I'm still on the journey. Most people, if they start out in that same way, they fall behind, they fall short, and they fall back into the old pattern simply because they have longer tenure in those negative bad habits. They have more time in the game of those bad habits. Thus, the subconscious mind, your neuronal pathways are more frequently ridden down the road, if you will, of those negative habits. But either way, if you keep going, if you find a way to stay consistent no matter what, you will get there. You will begin to rewire your mind and your brain. But again, you have to go even deeper than that. It's not just habitual. We got to get down to the identity level, the level of which we understand ourselves. And when we get to that level, things can be very confusing, very funky, if you will. But the work on that lower level, the work of rewiring the way we understand ourselves and the concepts we have of the world, that's the real work that will reorganize your entire reality. But once again, we're taught not to look that low. We're actually taught the opposite of looking that low, by which the doctor gives us some sort of medication so where we don't ever have to look that low. Now, I'm not trying to be any sort of negative person here, but in most cases, there is a reason why we have anxiety patterns. There's a reason why we have depressive patterns. There's a lot of reasons. And in most cases, in my experience and what I've seen in others, there's always many things we need to look at. There's always many things about our identity level understandings of the world that we're not fully understanding, and by which they're manifesting misalignment into your life, right? For instance, the person who has extremely lustful kind of habits and mindsets around the world, they might have some deeply seated trauma within their childhood around things that they need to look at to understand themselves better. But the way it manifests is lust. It manifests in over control in certain situations. It manifests in greed, right? But and that's obvious to people outside of them, and the people around them, the people that love them. The surface level, that is, what it manifests as. But this person just feels that that's normal, right? Whether it be lust or control or greed or sloth or whatever it is, these surface level embodiments, they feel natural. Why do they feel natural? Because that person has grown up through their entire life building on top of a cracked foundation of trauma. Now, if that same person goes down, no matter what age they're at, goes down deep into that work, they go deep into those understandings of the world to question where they come from, consistently enough to actually get an answer. Mind you, this is the work, this is the hard part, because again, nobody wants to go and think about their trauma and what they went through as a child. But if someone does take the time to do so, this is the most meaningful work you can do to understand yourself and thus create a different reality and a different world for yourself and for the people around you who ultimately deserve it. So it's when we go into that work and we actually learn about ourselves and why we are the way that we are, that's how we get to know why our world is the way that it is. But once again, if you follow society's timeline, they'll just sell you everything possible to keep you distracted from looking at these ugly sides of your reality. Right? There's always something to sell that helps you take your mind off of these things. There's always something that is, again, still in misalignment, still only manifesting in your life because of your own misalignment, that'll take your mind off of the things you don't want to think about. And my friend, I'm here today to tell you that though it may feel good to avoid it, and though it may feel hard to look at it, this is the work that you're meant to do. If you ask me, this is the entire reason why you went through the trauma to begin with. So you could then work through it and then take it to the world and make the world a better place with it. But you have to actually take control, take accountability, look deeper, and go deep and go within to do that work. My friends, I'm here to help. Doing the work is not easy, as we mentioned. I have many tactics and methods and frameworks to help build through this. And I'm still in the process of building much of that as well. Complete transparency there. But if someone needs help, reach out. I'm a comment away. I'll give you my personal number, my email, whatever. We can chat and we can talk about whatever. I also have a school community. I'll make sure to leave in the comment section below. So guys, I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Let me know how you felt. Let me know what you think of based on this video. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.